Let's start. Feet hip width apart, knees hip width apart, rolling back down onto the ground. If you need a block under your head, make sure it's one of the small ones. Now adjust your pelvis. And I want you to put the heels of your hands on those bony protrusions on the top of your hips and make a diamond and see where your pelvis is. So watch, are you tipping it up one way or the other? And I want you to rock the pelvis, push the back into the mat and tip back the other way. Try and keep your bottom relaxed. Make that movement come from the back until you get that diamond such that your thumbs and fingers are parallel with the sky, with the ceiling. Making that movement smaller. So you should now have your neutral spine, a little bit of gap under your back. And we're going to go back exactly to the same thing. So putting the fingertips on those bony protrusions, and I want you to do a compass. So you're going to turn to north. You can decide which is north, east, south and west. North, east, south and west. So really being aware of your pelvis, getting a little bit of movement, circular movement. So dropping the hip down one side, south and west. Back to north and then change direction. So we're just becoming really aware of where our pelvis is. It might be a really tiny movement. And then coming back to neutral. So from here, fingertips under the small of your back. I want you to be able to feel what's going on with your back when you move. Check those feet are hip width apart. Feet are pointing forward. And we're going to go with a leg slide. And now while you're doing this, I want you to be really cautious or really aware that you're not moving your spine, that it is just your leg that's sliding along the mat, coming back. So it's a heel slide along the mat. And here we're concentrating on keeping the pelvis as still as possible, sliding that leg away. Bring it back. If the hands are uncomfortable, you can bring them out now. And maybe place them on the top of your hips so that you can feel what's going on there. Remember to engage your core. So we're thinking about your breath as well. Breathing out as the leg goes away. Breathing in as it comes back. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay, even up on both sides. If you started on the right, finish on the left. And we're going to take it to a knee drop. So again, fingertips on the top of those hips. And you're trying to keep those hips still, really concentrating on keeping that core engaged and keeping the pelvis still. We're going to drop the knee out, so onto the side of the foot. Try and keep the other knee as still as possible. You're engaging your core, pulling up the pelvic floor. Doesn't have to be a big movement. Try and really control it down and up, breathing out as you go down. In as you come back up. Breathing out as you take it down to the side. In as you come back up. So have you got that core engaged? If you find the other knee is wobbling a little, then try pushing the heel of the stationary leg into the mat. That will help you engage your core. Okay, coming back. Even up both sides. So again, if you started on the right side, you're going to finish on the left. And we're going to go back to the heel slides, but this time we're going to make it a starfish by doing the opposite arm. So when you do this one, again, you want to be concentrating on the pelvis, but also watch that you're not lifting your rib cage. So you're keeping your rib cage still as you go. So starting with the hands pointing to the ceiling, palms facing, one arm away. So it doesn't really matter whether you've got the same arm and leg going up and down. as long as one's going each direction. So you're still really trying to concentrate on keeping the core stable and still, breathing out as you go away. Then what I'm going to get you to do next is change which arm. So this one's all about the brain. So if you've got right arm, right leg going away, you're going to go the opposite way. So keep the arms moving the same way and do the same leg as you've just done. That'll confuse you. So if you were doing opposite arm and leg, you're now doing same arm and leg. And you're still concentrating on keeping that core stable, core still. Pelvis isn't rocking. You've got your neutral spine. It's not about touching the arm above the head, it's taking it as far as it will go, keeping that rib cage down, breathing out as you go away, in as you come back up. Okay, you might want to take your arms down, just give them a little bit of rest, but we're going to do, again, that same knee drop, but with an arm out to the side. And we're going to start with opposite arm, and then we're going to go to the same arm. So again, arms up to the ceiling, palms facing. You're going to drop the right knee out to the side, really controlling the core, and take the opposite arm out to the side. So I'm making you concentrate that little bit more by doing something with your arms while you do this. Really think about engaging the core, breathing out as you go down, in as you come back up, out as you go down, in as you come back up. Okay, on the next one, you're going to keep the legs moving the way they are, but you're going to use the same arm. So the same arm and leg go down together. We want to even up on both sides always. One more each side. Make sure you have done an even number both sides. Okay. Relax, bring those arms down by your sides. Bringing the feet and knees together, and we're going to do a little bit to mobilize the lower back. Taking the arms away from the body just so that there's room to move your knees down, and you're going to drop the knees towards the floor, lifting the top foot off the ground. And again, just take it as far as is comfortable. If that's too much for you, you can leave both feet on the floor, because leaving both feet on the floor will reduce the range. It'll make the movement that little bit smaller. So nice and slow and controlled. Pause in the middle, breathing out as you go down. Taking that top foot away from the floor. Okay, as you go over to the first side, I want you to this time hold it briefly, trying to keep the shoulders relaxed into the mat, and just hold that stretch. And if it feels good, extend the top leg out in front of you. You're not going to be able to see me doing that. I'm going to flip to the other side, just taking the straight leg out on the top. So you're holding it there, stationary stretch. to extend the stretch. If that's too much, just keep it with the knees and feet together. Come back to center slowly, breathing in, breathing out as you go to the other side. And again, you can either just hold it there or you can extend that stretch by taking the straight leg out. Trying to keep the shoulders on the floor. If that's too much for you, bring that knee back and keep the feet together. Okay, lovely. Coming back to center. Check your neutral spine again. So again, that diamond, just double check your position on the mat. Hands again on the top of your hips. I want you to slide your right leg out in front and then your left leg. So both are straight now, and we're going to just lift the leg up and down. So really controlling the core and lower. Breathing out as you lift. Breathing in as you slowly bring that leg down. Really control it. One more each side. Just taking it up as far as is comfortable. Okay, bending your legs back in. This time, bring your feet as close as possible as you can to your buttocks. Hands are going to go either on your hips, but with the elbows off the ground, or across your chest, whichever is most comfortable for you. And I want you to squeeze your buttocks and lift up into bridge. Just hold it there. So we're trying to keep the pelvis as still as possible. So with the hands on top of the pelvis or across the chest, whatever feels best, what I want you to do is lift one foot a tiny bit, and I mean a tiny bit, off the floor. Now, if you can't do that, just come onto the heel. But we're trying to keep that pelvis as still. If it drops down or hitches up, you're not controlling your core. So first of all, think about your zip and hollow or engaging your core. Think about that band of muscle around your abdominals and in pulling up your pelvic floor. Keep breathing and try and just see if you can float that foot and release. If you need to, come down in between. And again, if you need to, you can hug your knees in for a little bit of a rest. Some of you will keep doing that one quite nicely. Anyone who's a little bit weaker might want a bit of a break there. Bringing the feet back close to the buttocks, elbows off the floor, feeling those hips as you lift. Engaging, keeping breathing as you start to take the heel off the ground. Really try and control. Put your toe down if you need to. But really here we're concentrating on keeping that pelvis as still as you can. And release. Taking it back down. And again, if you need to, hug the knees in. Give a little bit of a circle to relax the lower back. Go back now. Make sure you've got enough room above your head. So I'm going to move down to the end of my mat. Exactly the same position. This time, make sure you've got no block underneath your head, particularly for this one. Feet are hip width apart. You're going to come up. When you get to the top, float the arms over the top. Bring it back with the arms. Arms come to the floor as you take your body back down. Breathe in to prepare. Breathe out as you lift and hold. Breathe in. Arms above the head. Breathe out. Arms come back so it's nice and slow and controlled. And hinge or roll back down to the mat. So if you're suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis, you probably want to do the hinge rather than the roll. If you're not, then by all means try rolling up one vertebrae at a time. The thing about squeezing those buttocks, try and be in control, really controlling what's going on with the pelvis as well. And hinge or roll back down. And again. This is our last one. Now from there, give it a rest. Do whatever feels good. So if taking the knees over to the side and giving a stretch through the side of the body feels good, that's fine. If you'd rather hug your knees into the chest and roll, just release your lower back if it's feeling tight there. I'm going to give myself a little bit more space. Okay, we're going to move on to the arms now. So both arms facing, pointing up towards the ceiling, palms facing. And you're going to think about your shoulders here. So we're concentrating on the shoulders, not the arms or the elbows. So you're going to think about lifting your right shoulder off the mat. Arm will come up towards the ceiling and then drop that shoulder back down. So this is about mobility in the shoulders, coming back down. If you're happier with your legs out straight, that's fine too. But if you've got them bent, try and keep them hip width apart. Again, still controlling what's going on with the lower body as you lift and lower those shoulders. Okay, bringing the hands down by the side of the body. And we're going to take the arms, make sure you've got some space around you. We're going to take the arms up into snow angels. So touching the palms at the top. I've not really got enough space here, but if you can. So I've got my palms down when they're by the side of my body. I'm turning to the back of my hands as I go round, trying to keep the hands on the floor if you can. Ideally keeping the arms straight, but if you need to adapt, please do. And rolling your palms down to the floor as they come down towards your hips. As you get halfway, start to turn the hands so it's the back of the hands as you go above your head. If that's uncomfortable, just adapt. Do what you need to be able to get the best movement you can. We're aiming to be the same both sides if you can. And release. Okay, bringing the knees in, one at a time off the floor. Again, check that position of your pelvis. A little bit harder to do here, but you should still have that natural curve of the spine, so a little bit of a gap under the lower back. Bringing the legs into tabletop position. If you can, you're going to take your head off the ground. If you're not going to take it off and you want to use either a thicker block or a block and a towel to support your head up a little bit, you can. Taking the head up, and we're going to do single leg stretch. So for that single leg stretch, you take one leg away, hold the knee with the other hand, and you reach across to the inside of the foot. So breathe in as you come in, breathe out as you stretch that leg away, about 45 degrees, really controlling the abdominals, controlling your tummy. So up to about 45 degrees. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. If it gets too much for your head at any time, by all means put it down. When you've had enough, hug your knees into your chest. We'll do one more each side for those of you that can. And then hug your knees in. A little bit of a rest. Okay, we're going to move on to hamstrings. So what I want you to do here, bring your right knee into the chest, taking your hands underneath, behind the knee, so on the back of the thigh. And what I want you to do is straighten and bend that leg. So we're trying to get it straight and above, directly above your hip. But if you can't quite, you're just going to get as close as you can. Just feeling the muscles in the back of that thigh loosen. I like to hold the side of my leg because that takes the pressure off the muscle that we're working. So we're just loosening up, warming through the hamstring. Now hold it up as best you can. Now again, if you're quite tight in your hamstrings and your leg is there, bend your knee slightly, bring the leg so that you can comfortably hold it, and just get the leg as straight as it will go, and from there bend and flex the foot. So you might be at this position, but as long as you're feeling that in your hamstring, in the back of the thigh, you're getting that movement. If you normally use a strap and you've got one nearby, this is the time to hook the strap around your foot. And we're just going to hold that leg and relax into the stretch. So you need to support the leg at this point, and we're going to hold that in a stretch for a few moments, either holding the lower leg or behind the calf, relaxing the foot. And release it down. Let's change legs. We will come back and do the hamstrings again later. So hugging the knee in, holding underneath, and just starting with that gentle movement up and down. Watch what's going on with your other leg. Should still be in that hip width apart position, not allowing it to drop in or out. What I want you to do next is straighten the leg best you can. Knee at least is above the hip, ideally the foot as well, but if it isn't, wherever you are until you feel the stretch in the back of that calf. And you're going to bend and flex, back of the knee even, bend and flex the foot. And again, if you use the strap normally, now it's time to grab it, hook it around the foot and straighten the leg as best you can until you feel the stretch through the back of the thigh and the back of the knee, holding either lower leg, strap, or the calf, relaxing the foot and relaxing into that stretch. Okay, release. From here, we're going to come up to sitting. Taking the legs as wide as is comfortable. So here, if you find your back slouching back, sit on a block, a cushion or a towel. And as wide as is comfortable. So if this is wide for you, that's fine too. Anyone struggling with osteoporosis here or hip problems, adapt accordingly and keep the movement slower so that you're not putting extra stress on your spine as we do the twist. We're going to start off by taking our hand down towards our right leg. So you may be here or you may be further down, but you want to keep the other hip locked into the floor and just hold that stretch for a moment. So really here, be aware of what's going on. Is that hip on the floor? If it isn't, take it back and your hand might come further back up the leg. Come back center, reset in the middle, and let's take it to the other side. So taking the hand to the knee, sliding down. And again, be really aware of what's going on with the other hip. So as I said, anyone who has osteoporosis or struggling at all with hip pain might want to stay with the slow version. The rest of us can go into the saw, breathing in, breathing out, keeping those both hip bones on the floor, those bones under your buttocks on the floor as you move. If you lift up, you're going to lose some of the benefit of the stretch. Make sure you even up both sides. Coming back, we're going to take the legs out straight in front. Feet hip width apart, so really watch what's going on with your feet here. You don't want your feet dropping out to the side. Your feet are soft, but the heels are lifted. Nice straight line, hip width apart. If you need to, if you're slouching back, make sure again you sit on that block. Now, taking the arms either slightly behind you or out to the side, whatever's most comfortable, try and relax your upper body. You may need to lean back slightly, and we're going to start by lifting the leg and holding. And release. Let's lift the leg and hold. And release. And release. Lift and hold. And release. One more each side if you can. Hold a little bit longer this time maybe, or not. Lift. And release. Well done. Okay. Coming on to your right side. So here, if you've got a towel that you can use to put under your head, we're going to be doing side lying work. We can do the clam or oyster, then do, or gentle cushion. We want to try and keep the head nice and comfortably in alignment. Start off in a nice straight line all the way down your mat and then adjust. So I'm going to bring my hand in, mainly because I don't have space. This hand in front. I want the hips stacked. I want the knees stacked. I want the heels stacked. So if you're here, lift that bottom foot until they're in alignment. Then you are going to bend the knees forward so that the feet are still in alignment with the bottom and the knees are bent. And you're going to lift and lower. So here, if you put your hand on your hip bone, you should feel that there is no movement there. All the movement is coming in the leg. You're feeling the work here. We're going to try and do 8 in this position if you can. Anytime it gets too much, stop, and if you want to go back to an easier version, do. Breathing out as you lift, in as you lower. Do put your hand wherever is comfortable to feel what's going on. So it could be here. Even having your elbow on there will make you aware of what's going on. So we're trying to keep the rest of the body as still as possible. You're still engaging your core. I've lost count, but I think that's 8. Anyway, let's raise the feet off the ground and do exactly the same thing. Try and pull the waist away from the floor so your spine's in alignment. So again, any time it gets too much, rest and join back in when you can. Breathing out. And we're just going to do 4 of the next one. So from here, if you've still got it in you, we're going to lift, keeping that knee still, extend the leg out. Bring the leg in, take it down. You might find that you've had enough by now, but if you have had a rest, try and join back in and do a couple more, or go back to the easier version. Really should have worked those muscles quite hard if you've managed to do all of them. Well done. And relaxed. Just bring the leg forward if you need to, give it a little bit of a rub. And you're going to roll onto your front. And from here, relax your buttocks. Just come up into a little cobra. So feeling that stretch through the body. Keep looking down towards the mat. If it's too much, keep it a little bit lower. You can adjust by taking the elbows out slightly. And from there, we're just going to turn the head towards the screen and centre to the other side and centre. Other side. Last one. And from there, we're going to go to work the other leg. So pushing back into child's pose first. Give your lower back a little bit of a stretch. And let's take it to the other side. So remember, you're starting so that the head's in alignment, or dropping the hand down. Nice straight line. Get yourself in alignment first. Straight line, in line up with the edge of your mat. Hips stacked, knees stacked, heels stacked. And then bring those knees forward. Feet are still in line with your buttocks. So if you were lying against a sofa, your shoulders, your bottom and your feet would be touching. Hand either in front or on top so you can feel what's going on here. And we're going to slowly start to move. 8. Breathing out. Breathing in. So don't forget, anytime you need to rest, please rest. Join back in when you can. That's 8. And we're going to take it up to the next version. So floating the heels and continue with that movement. Breathing out as you lift. And if you've still got it in you, or if you can join back in, pick which version you want to do. But those that still have the ability to keep going, let's do with the legs stretched out in front. Touch the toes, drop the knee. I usually find about 4 of these is enough. Well done if you've managed to do all of them. 2 more if you're with me. If you've already rested, try and join back in and do a few more, even if it's the more basic version. Really working those muscles around the hip. And release. Bring it forward, give it a stretch. So have a quick, watch me first. I'm going to turn around to the other side because I find it a bit easier to see what's going on from that side. Watch me first for the next one. You're going to be lying on your front. If you've got your towel, you might want to put your forehead on it. We're going to come into a starfish position. So the feet are the width of the mat, hands are the width of the mat. And you're going to lift opposite arm and leg. Join in when you're ready. Doesn't have to be very high. Think about pulling the abdominals away from the floor, so pulling your belly away from the floor, still engaging that core. And concentrate on extending the arm and leg away as well as lifting and lowering. Even up both sides, so make sure if you started on the right, you finish on the left. And again, bringing the hands underneath your shoulders, engaging your core. Bring the feet back to hip width apart and push yourself up onto all fours. Make sure you've got enough room both sides and really have a check of your position here. So you need to have your shoulders directly above your wrists and enough space. Make sure you're not all crowded in on yourself. Plenty of space. And we're going to go with heel slides away. So again here, what I want you to do is keep the pelvis as still as possible. So you're going to engage your core, pull up the pelvic floor, and breathe in as you breathe out. Slide that foot along the mat. Doesn't have to lift. You're just going to slide it along the mat. So think of sliding away first. We will lift eventually, but for now, just keep that foot on the floor and control. So be really aware of your pelvis, really controlling. Okay, coming back. Let's just go with the arms. So this time, arm float. Take the weight into the hands here. If that's uncomfortable on your hands, you can either put your hands onto a towel or use your fists, alternating the hands. But we're taking the weight into the hands here, making sure you're not sitting back into your hips. Okay, opposite arm and leg. So opposite arm and leg, slide away. And this time I want you to lift it until it's in alignment and hold. So it's a hold rather than a dynamic movement. Hold it there. Try and keep it as still as you can on the core. When you really start to wobble, you know you've done enough. Relax. Let's do one more. Exactly the same on the other side. And hold. And rest. We're going to come back to that in a moment. Just relax back. Either come back into child's pose, or if your wrists are aching, give your wrist a little bit of a circle. Coming back onto all fours. And again, if you need to be on your fists, that's fine too. Looking down towards the floor, we're going to do the cat-cow. So arching the back down, lifting the chest or the sternum towards the sky, and then reversing the other way. Breathing out as you come in, looking down. Stretching up. Looking down. Opening up. Coming back. And we're going to do exactly the same as we did just now. We're going to take opposite arm and leg and hold. So slide away and then lift. Really controlling. Coming back center. Let's change sides. Slide away and hold. One more each side if you can. If it's too much for you, then by all means, go back into child's pose and give yourself a little bit of a rest. Slide away and hold. Coming back. Slide away and hold. We're going to come onto our backs again. And we're going to go back to, I want you this time actually, before you lie onto your back, have a quick watch of what I'm doing. We're going to do single leg pull, and it's about the pull of the leg. It's about getting a hamstring stretch. So I'm going to quickly show you the full exercise. Bringing the knees in one at a time to tabletop, or into your chest even. Straighten them up. Now, ideally, they're going to be straight. But again, if your legs are there, just bring the weight over so you can feel the weight off until you can feel the stretch in the back of the leg. Lift the head if you can. And it's single leg pull. So you might be here. You might be here. You might have your head on the ground if that's not comfortable. Join me when you're ready. The full exercise is taking the leg all the way down, but you take it as far as you can, and you're concentrating on leg pull. It's pulling the leg in towards you, getting a stretch in the hamstring. I say, don't worry too much if as you pull in, you have to bend the knee. But when you're doing it, you should be feeling that stretch in the back of the thigh and in the back of the knee. Well done. And when you've had enough, hug those knees into the chest. So one more in this position. We go for the dead bug. So taking the feet to tabletop. Now again, you might want to sit up briefly and watch this one. This exercise is all coming from the hips. You need to make sure that your knees start off above your hips. You've got a neutral spine, so you've got that little bit of gap underneath. And you're going to hinge from the hip as you let the foot go away and lift back up. Now, anyone who finds this too extreme, start with the feet on the ground, come up and down, up and down. But those of you that can, I'd like you to really control it on the core. Try and keep that back as stable as possible as you take the foot down. Really be aware, engage your core, pull up your pelvic floor, breathing out as you go down, in as you come up, and watch that you're not bending the knee. So you're thinking about dipping the heel towards the floor. It doesn't matter if it doesn't touch. If you can only go halfway, that's absolutely fine too. Really feel that in your tummy. You're going to have to control your spine as well in order to do this exercise properly. One more each side if you can. If you've had enough, by all means, hug your knees into the chest. Give yourself a rest, give yourself a hug. And release, hug those knees in. I'm going to do a little bit more for the arms and some stretching. So we're going to come up to sitting. If you need to sit on your block, your towel, your cushion, again, be really aware of what's going on with your lower back. I'm going to sit on mine because it keeps me in line with my mat. You obviously can sit along your mat. So sitting comfortably to start with, we're going to do the VW exercise. So we're starting up in a V position. We're bringing the elbows in to a W. So it's a V. You're pulling back without lifting the chest into the W. And as you do the W, think about squeezing those shoulder blades together. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, not allowing the chest to lift. Squeeze and release. So it's strengthening the muscles in the back, opening up through the chest. And last one. Give it a bit of a shake out. We're going to do some seated stretches. So we're going back again to our hamstrings. Feet hip width apart. Sit nice and tall. So for some of you, you might have to lean back slightly, but try and keep that back in its neutral spine. Shoulders above the hips. Now, chin retracted, arms either to the side or slightly behind. And what I want you to do is fold forward from the waist. Now, some of you aren't going to move at all. Some of you come a long way. Really keep that chin back. Keep that back, upper back, chest lifted as you fold from the waist until you feel it in the hip, the back of the thighs. relax into that stretch. See if you can go just a little bit further and release. Right leg stays straight. Hug your left knee in. Taking that foot over. This hand pulls on the leg, so you're going to stretch through the muscle that you worked earlier. Foot is flat on the floor, other hand comes behind. And release. Coming back the other way. So you can either keep the hand up or take it down onto the ankle. Foot stays on the floor. Little gentle rotation of the spine and let the head follow, getting some movement in the head. Come back center for those who can. Sole of the foot against the thigh. Just let that other leg drop down. So you're keeping your straight leg exactly where it was, as if it was hip width apart, and just opening out through that hip on one side at a time. So really be aware that you're staying square to the body as well. Very, very easy to twist round towards that leg. You're looking forward along the leg that is straight out in front. Okay, let's change legs. So taking that leg down, legs start off hip width apart, bring the other knee in, take that foot over, foot onto the floor. You're going to hug that leg. So with the opposite hand, hug it round. This hand comes behind and looking over the shoulder. So you're feeling a lovely stretch in that muscle we worked when we were lying on the floor doing the clam oyster exercise. Coming back center. Keeping that foot on the floor, keeping some tension in that leg as you use that leg to help rotate yourself in the other direction, and take the head with you, gently looking over your shoulder. Now your straight leg should still be in the same position. You're going to bring the inside of the foot against that thigh, the bottom of the foot again even. If that's not comfortable, take it further down. If that's really not comfortable, take it out to the side and see if you can twist it out. But we're trying to open out through the hip here best we can. Okay, you can stay facing me. I'm going to turn sideways so that I've got enough room to do this with you seeing exactly what I'm doing. Those that might need to lie on the floor for this one. I'm going to come down onto my elbows, take the outside of that ankle onto the other knee and open out. So if you normally lie down for this one, lie all the way down and just hold it there. If you're able to, coming up onto the elbows and you're letting that knee open up away, stretching through. And again, anyone who feels more comfortable coming all the way up or feels they get a better stretch there, by all means come all the way up. From there, slide that foot down so that the knees are crossed. So if I show you, I'm in that sort of position. Lying back down onto the mat, and you're going to grab hold of the legs, preferably the back knee if you can. And again, you're going to feel a stretch through the thigh. And release, keeping the knees as they are. Take that foot down to the floor. And drop over so that the top leg goes down towards the floor. Hands stay on the ground and feel a stretch through. Now again, this is one if you've got osteoporosis or are concerned about it, it may be a little bit too of an extreme stretch. So be cautious. Come back center. Changing legs. So putting that top foot back down. Other ankle goes onto the knee. Open it out, feel that stretch. Come to the position that's best for you. So it could be here. It could be here. It could be all the way up. And hold that stretch for a moment. From there, slide that knee across, rolling back down onto the mat and grab hold of the legs, preferably the back leg, but whatever you can grab hold of comfortably. Feel that stretch through the hip. Taking that foot back down to the ground, leaving the knees crossed, and you're going to take the top knee over down to the side. I'm moving across so you can see what I'm doing, but just taking that knee down, keeping the shoulders on the floor, getting quite a nice stretch to the side of the body and through the legs. Okay, and release. From there, we're going to come up to standing. So I'll leave it up to you how you come up. You can roll up, come up in a hurry, or you can try and get up without putting your feet and knees on the ground. Okay, maybe not. Move my towel out of the way. Just a little bit of balance to finish off today. Feet hip width apart. Weight evenly in both feet. Think about your posture. Engage your core. Watch you're not standing forward on your hips or arching your back. Shoulders back and in alignment. You're going to breathe in. And as you breathe out, slowly start to lift your right foot off the floor. You're trying to keep the pelvis as still as possible, so you might want to put your hands on your hips, stick your elbows out, and you're going to really see and feel what's going on there. Maybe just onto your toe. Maybe lift it off the ground and hold. Really is going to depend what surface you're on. These mats are very, very squidgy that I'm standing on. And release. Walk through the feet a moment, just lifting, alternating feet, getting a little bit of mobility in those ankles and feet, coming back center. Weight evenly on both feet. Check your posture again, coming up onto the toe. Keeping those hips as level as you can. Just be really aware of what's going on, and here we go. Lift. Or keep the toe on the ground if you need to. Well done. One last one. And I want you to do, we're going to just lift onto the toes and release. Both feet together. Strengthening the ankles. Balance. Now don't worry if you can't come up as high as I can. Just do as much as you can. Relax the arms. Let's finish off with a nice deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Put yourself back into your perfect posture. Watch that your feet are pointing forward, ready to go away for the rest of the day. Thank you.